My name is Rachel Maldonado. My website is rhmaldonado.com. Believe in the human spirit and desire to connect is the reason that I want to tell your story and mine. And I am with John Dent, an attorney. What is your specialty?
Well, first of all, it's nice to be here. I handle mostly bankruptcy and real estate.
Okay. And not only are you an attorney in the Chicagoland area, but you also have this other talent, music. Can you tell me about this?
Well, I think it's probably more of a hobby than a talent, to be fair. But sure, how would you like me to tell you how it started?
Yes, how
Okay.
it started. That's what I want to know.
Okay, so it's a long, tragic tale. I was a hockey player. I played hockey from like age 4 up through college, and I had a real bad knee injury that derailed my hockey career. So while I was sitting in a cast feeling sorry for myself, I decided that I would pursue my musical interest, and I started teaching myself how to play guitar. It was a very slow process because I was not very good, but I played and played and played, and it kind of became my stress reliever, you know, as my hockey career was over, and I, felt sorry for myself less and less. Like, I would just play. I mainly played guitar in my basement by myself for probably 10 plus years. Like, no one heard me play.
Wow,
Yeah.
10 years you were playing guitar?
In my basement by myself, pretending to be like some rock star that I, never would be. But yeah, so, and at the time that I was doing this, so Metallica was like the biggest band and biggest rock band in the world, like back in the day. So I would teach myself how to play all the Metallica songs because they were fast and kind of aggressive at the time, and so it was almost like a workout, like a cathartic workout for me. Okay. So you fast forward a little bit, and again, I had never, ever played with anyone, and no one's ever heard me play, just me, okay? I get asked, when someone found out that I actually played guitar, I got asked to be a sub in a country band of all things.
I
Well,
love country.
well, at least there's one of us. No, I'm kidding. I was not a big country music fan. I didn't know any country songs. I literally just played guitar just to have a stress relief. Okay. So, but I agreed. I said, okay, yeah, fine, I'll do it. So I joined, and there was another guitar player in the band that kind of taught me, like what I needed to do, and taught me the songs, etc. Just as an aside, we were maybe the worst country band ever. We were not good. We were all like rock kind of players, and we were bad. But one day at practice, one of the guys, we were just screwing around. One of the guys like played like a Metallica like riff. So I started playing some Metallica stuff, and he said, hey, I don't know that song. Like, what is that? So I started singing it, and he was like, he heard me sing it, and he's like, oh my God, like you sound like James Hetfield, the singer of Metallica. You should start your own Metallica band. And I laughed. I mean,
Yeah.
just at that point, like even being in a band period or even playing with other people was like foreign to me. And it wasn't something I had ever even thought about. But that kind of planted the seed. And then, maybe like a year or two later, like I thought, well, maybe I should. So I start this Metallica band, and the truth is, I started it thinking we would play like 1 or 2 shows, like, kind of like around where we live, and nothing, if we got family to come out, friends to come out, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, family, friends.
yeah, I mean, you're not expecting much. So we start playing, and the band magically takes off, and people take a liking to it. So we're playing in the band, we're playing, 3-4 times a month. We're getting bigger and bigger, and you're thinking, if you're, in my mind, I'm thinking like, well, this is like nothing else could happen. Like, this is as good as it gets,
And what is one of the venues that you really like to play at in Chicago?
So at that point, we had played the biggest shows that we played were Bourbon Street on the South Side, and we also got to play the House of Blues.
Yeah.
Which is just
iconic.
yeah, and you know, if you're me, who's like doesn't have a lot of musical talent, taught themselves how to play, and like kind of stumbled into this, to stand on stage at the House of Blues and look around and think of all the talented musicians that have played there, it was mind blowing. It was absolutely mind blowing. So just when I think like things like nothing else can happen to top that, we played a show at Bourbon Street, and it was one of our bigger shows. There was, you know, probably 1,500 people there. It was a big show. It was really fun. It was on a Saturday night, and we came home, or I came home rather, and I'm laying in bed, and I hear that my phone, I didn't turn the alerts off on my phone, so I hear there's an email. So I look, and there's an email, and it says, "Will you be in San Francisco for Metallica's shows this week? We want you to come on stage and play with Metallica." And I was like, okay, the guys in the band are funning me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I thought for sure they were just pranking me. You know, it's like 4 a.m. You know,
Wow.
I'm laying there like, ah. So I write back and I say, yeah, real funny.
You actually wrote that?
Yeah, because I thought it was a joke. You know. So the next thing I know, the email comes back and they're like, no, this is real. We'll call you in a few minutes. So they called, and it was, sure enough, it was their management, and they said Metallica had been planning on doing their 30th anniversary shows in San Francisco that week, and they were doing like 4 shows or whatever, and their plan was to have a fan from the audience come on stage and play with them. Well, apparently they knew about our band, and so they figured, well, since this guy is playing all of our songs, you know, 4 times a month, he probably, you know, can come on stage and actually play and not be too scared, and, you know, and it'll go well. And it'll be like, oh, look, a fan came up and played with us. Like, how cool.
How cool is that?
It was insane. And I couldn't believe it.
Wow.
So you got to think about like how this like plays out for me. It's 4 a.m. I just get off the phone. Now I can't sleep.
Oh my God.
Because my adrenaline's going, I'm excited. I'm like, oh my gosh, you know, they set it all up, and they're like, okay, you know, we'll have instructions, tickets, passes, everything will be at will call. We'll see you on Monday. So Sunday morning, I haven't slept, and I figured, well, I'm going to be flying out early on Monday morning, so on Sunday, I'll just stay up all day, even though I haven't slept Saturday night. Remember, we had a show Saturday night.
Wow.
So I stay up, and I'm like, I'll be plenty tired. I'll go to bed nice and early on Sunday. So I go to sleep on Sunday. I lay down, and it's kind of like this.
Oh my goodness.
And I can't sleep because I'm all wired thinking about what's going to happen. What songs am I going to play? Like, what am I, you know, do I have to bring my guitar? Like, I had all these questions that I didn't have answers to. Anyway, we get out there. A friend of the guitar player, Jim, in my band went with me. So we fly out there.
Yeah.
It's time to go in. We go into the venue. Sure enough, there are tickets and stuff, and we'll call, but there's no instructions for what I'm supposed to do or who I'm supposed to talk to or anything. So we're just like, oh, okay, well, and I start figuring, well, I guess they're not doing it. You know, maybe they decided, you know, everything was kind of loosey-goosey how they were doing this whole thing of this 30th anniversary celebration. So next thing you know, the show starts. And I look at Jim, I'm like, well, I guess they're not doing anything, you know? Now, keep in mind, I've been up now for 2 days with no sleep.
Wow, you've been up for 2 days
Yes,
straight.
2 days straight. Yeah. And I'm all excited thinking I'm going to play. And now I'm starting to come down because I'm thinking to myself, well, this isn't going to happen. They must have changed their mind. You know, maybe they just logistically couldn't work it out. Who knows? So there are about 5 songs into this show. And I'm standing there. You know, there's about 5 people in front of me, like depth-wise, because it's standing room only, in there from the stage. So I'm a little bit back from the stage. I'm standing next to Jim, and it's in between songs, and I turn to him and I say, I'm going back to the hotel. I'm exhausted. I've seen Metallica plenty of times. I got to go to sleep. Like, this isn't going to happen. I'm bummed out. Like, what? And as I'm turning to him, I'm talking to him, and as I'm talking to him like this, saying, oh, I'm not going to do this, like, James Hetfield's on there going, yeah, you know, we're going to do something kind of different. We're going to have a friend of ours, John Dent's going to come up on stage and play with us. And, you know, where is he? And I'm not even hearing this. I'm still talking to Jim, and Jim's like, hey, they're calling you.
Oh my gosh.
So from that point on, it was a little bit of a blur. I get up on stage. It took a while because they start goofing around with me. They're like, he needs a guitar. And they're like, yeah, give him like a pink one or whatever. Now, as a kind of aside, like I had met them a couple times before. I assumed that they didn't remember.
Yes.
But whether they remembered or not, they were having fun like at my expense, which is kind of funny, like the whole time. And you know,
Is it a pink guitar?
yeah, they were just different jokes, like back and forth. And then I would like ask, because like everyone gave me a hug and stuff, and then I said, well, what song are we playing? And they were like, oh yeah, you'll know, don't worry about it, you'll be fine. And I'm like, and I was so excited, and like didn't dawn on me I could just look down at the set list that was on the stage and see what song I was going to be playing. But then they gave me like a wireless unit for my guitar, and that didn't work. There was all kinds of like technical problems, so
Yeah.
it took a while. So I'm on stage just kind of like BSing like these guys. And so when I went over to talk to Rob, the bass player, he goes, hey, you're in that band Blackened, like you guys are awesome. And I was like, I said to him, I go, you've heard of our band? And he goes, oh yeah, we know everything. And I just started laughing. I'm like, I can't believe like you know our band. I go, and I think I said something to him like, God, I hope I hope we haven't embarrassed you or something like that. Like, I don't know what I said, like, but something like along those lines. And he started laughing, and I go, Rob, what song am I playing? And he goes, you know all the songs, you'll be fine. So they just started. They were like, they were having me try to guess what songs, and then they were just like,
They were
and
really
we started.
having fun with you. They thought
Yes.
this was a good time.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they enjoyed like kind of like making fun of me. So when the song starts, I'm sitting there, and there's like, there's an intro that lasts like, maybe like a minute of just guitar playing and stuff. So I'm playing, and I'm standing like literally right next to, like where you are, next to James Hetfield, and we're playing the same thing, we're looking at each other, and like, I'm just like, this is so surreal. Like, how is this even happening, So the song starts like where there's going to be singing. Well, no one had told me what song I'm going to play. Am I going to sing? Like, what am I supposed to do?
Right.
So I walk up to the center microphone like I'm going to sing. And then I look over, and there's James Hetfield starts singing, like on the right microphone. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, well, he is the singer of Metallica, John.
Right.
Like, but I didn't know what to do. So I'm just used to doing that, like in my band, of course. So I kind of back off a little bit. But then the chorus came. And like when this was happening, it was like, I was like extra alive, like during this time. That feeling like where you're just like on top of the world, and you feel like you can do like a million things. I had all these conversations going on in my head at one time. And the predominant one was this is probably never going to happen again. I better take advantage of it. So the chorus comes, I start singing, and I kind of sung the rest of the time with him, which is kind of cool. And then at the end, when the song is done, I am just pimping for the crowd. I'm throwing all their guitar picks out to the crowd. Oh yeah. And it was actually like just super funny. They were laughing, but they could not have been more gracious, more wonderful. When I got home about a week later, they sent me just huge poster-sized pictures of me on stage with them. They had signed all of them, like written little notes to me and stuff. So it was pretty cool. But it's funny because it wasn't lost on me while I was up there. I actually was thinking about it. I'm like, I never wanted to play with anyone. I never wanted to be in a band. I never even thought about it. I did this because I was being a baby about my hockey career ending, and I needed something to occupy my time. And then I go from that to being on stage with the biggest like hard rock band in the world. Life is a little weird, and that's kind of like how I had thought about it.
Wow. So you went from playing your show, Blackened, being on a zero sleep for 2 days, and all of a sudden you are on a plane to San Francisco, and then you are on stage with the biggest rock band in the world. You are on stage with Metallica. Wow.
I know, it's kind of ridiculous. And then there wasn't much sleep that night, as you can imagine, because we were celebrating afterwards. And suddenly I became a little mini celebrity, like in San Francisco, for like a day.
Yeah. Well, that is the type of experience that no one ever has. So it is incredible that you had that. And then for the rest of your life, you remember that this happened.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. It like these years later, like part of it doesn't seem like it really happened. Because it was one of those experiences where you feel just a little bit more alive. Like maybe like the first time you went skydiving, or for me, like I play hockey, and so like there's times where I play hockey where I feel just a little bit more alive. Like it was one of those experiences. But putting it all together from where it started to how it happened, it doesn't seem like real. It doesn't seem like that would happen, but it did, and it was it was a story that's just kind of like part of me now.
Well, I love it. And had you ever met Metallica, anyone before?
So I had. So there's a funny story if you have time. There's a funny story that goes along with it. I had met them a couple times, but more like fan kind of stuff. But there was one meeting in particular that was really funny. So I had friends of mine lived in San Francisco, and they lived like not far from where a couple of the guys in Metallica lived. So they called me and they said, "Hey, Metallica's doing these little secret club shows in advance of their album coming out." This is a long time ago, 1995.
Secret.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're like, "Fly out here, like we can get us in." And I said, "Okay." So I flew out there, and we waited in line. It was like an old kind of warehouse district feel to like the neighborhood. And so we go to this show, and it was a little club show. Like maybe there was 300 people there tops, which for them is like, it's like playing in someone's living room for them.
Right.
So there was an opening band, and the opening band was this female band, and one of the guys that was with us started hitting on the female bass player after they were done. Instead of watching Metallica, he went over and he was just like, "You guys are the best band," and he just kept talking to her. And finally, I think to get rid of him, she goes, "Well, listen, we got to get out of here, but there's an after show if you guys want to go. Like, I've got 4 passes."
Wow.
So we didn't know. We're like, "Okay, we have these 4 passes," and we didn't know like anything about anything. So when it was done, we walked like a couple blocks to this house, and we have our little passes, and we walk into this house, and there's no one in there except for 3 of the guys from Metallica and the drummer's dad. So there's 4 people in this house. We obviously are the ones that don't belong, We walk in, and they're all kind of talking with each other, and they're drinking, and they all kind of do this when we walk in. So, being kind of goofy guy that I am, and just to break the ice, we were just silent for a second, and I looked at those guys and I go, "Who are you guys?" And they kind of thought it was funny from that point on. And then from that point on, we just kind of were there for this little party. It was small. There couldn't have been more than maybe 20 people the whole time. So I had met them before, and I got a chance to talk to each of them, etc. But I have no doubt that they did not remember that when I was on stage. Yeah, that didn't register.
So you have partied with Metallica, and you have played on stage with Metallica. That is incredible. Yeah. I have one last question for you.
Sure.
What makes you feel alive?
So right now, what makes me feel alive is that I still play hockey. Although my hockey career came to an unceremonious end with my knee injury, I started playing men's league hockey again about 5 or 6 years ago, and I'm glad I did. It's been amazing, and it kind of gives me that feeling of just simply being alive,
Yeah. So you are multi-talented, you're an attorney, you're a musician and an athlete, and it has been such a pleasure. I thank you so much for telling your story.
Oh, thank you. I enjoyed it. Thank you.